Hey, Jamie.
Hello.
Hey there.
Happy
And
Next Festival, everyone.
yeah, happy first day of Next Festival 2021. Hooray, hooray. And welcome to everybody who's just joining us from the waiting room and to all our Next Fest 21 fellows. So if you're here at this talk, it's a good chance you're here because Jamie broadcast this and got it into your head. Jamie is our social media guru and knows everything about that whole side of things. He's irrepressible. He's just does amazing work, and he knows how to dig deep into all of the analytics. Um, I'm amazed every time that we have a discussion. I learn something new, and I really wanted to share Jamie's perspectives with all of you who are joining us today. So I want to just go straight into Jamie's talk, and thanks for being here. And I will drop a couple links into the chat once Jamie starts, and enjoy. I know I will. Go for it, Jamie. Thanks for
Okay.
doing this.
Oh, yes. It's always my mission to see if I can make social media actually fun. And this type of presentation with a slide deck and my big fat mouth, try to make it as informative and fun as possible. So we're going to give it a go. Hi, Jessica Chen. So I did put a link, if you notice, in the chat to my slide deck. You can actually access it, play around with it. There are, if you look at the slide notes, I try to put informative tutorial links to anything I'm talking about in those slide notes. So hopefully that comes in handy. I'm going to share that with us now so everyone can see it. And we're going to see what's possible in an hour. This is always a fun challenge. It's like you start the countdown. Okay, so I'm going to present this bad boy. Bear with me. All right. So you have now entered the Social Media for the Misinformation Age workshop. Hi, everyone. My name's Jamie Benson, which we'll get into. So let me try to give you some kind of running start as to what we're doing here today. There is an ever increasing mind-numbing bounty of ways in which you can promote your passion projects online, which means that there is an increasingly finite amount of time in which to learn, relearn, and implement all of these things on top of doing whatever the true work that you hope to do. And so, insult to injury, many of us in this chat are artists, entrepreneurs, which is kind of the same thing, which we'll get into, uh, academics, do-gooders, whatever, and we are all notorious for wearing more hats than is fashionable. And so what happens is our social media presence becomes a sort of faint echo of the really interesting human stories that we're enduring on the front lines of our lives every day. And so ultimately what I'm going to try to do is take something like 15 years of experience, going to try to funnel it through and just like let you know, what do I do as often working part-time for arts and culture organizations, how I get in and out of social media with results, laser focus on results for the people that I'm working for. And I'm just going to tell you step by step. I'm going to give you a lot of opportunity to actually do the things that I'm talking about with me, especially increasing your follower count. I'm actually hoping we can increase everyone's following account here or following for their accounts by the end of the hour. I don't know. Can he do it? We're going to find out. So let's get started. Just really fast, in case you're wondering who the hell does this guy think he is, I'm just going to very briefly tell you why I sometimes, not all the times, sometimes know what I'm talking about. My name is Jamie Benson. I have a dance background. I used to choreograph really comedic sort of sketch comedy sort of events. And that transitioned more into traditional forms of comedy. It's a long story, buy me a drink sometime. But if you want, you can find out more at jamiebenson.com. Also, I am a bona fide marketing nerd, not just a creative. I graduated magna cum laude with a degree in digital communications from Baruch College. I'm also the digital marketing manager for the CUNY Dance Initiative, Kupferberg Center for the Arts, as well as helping out Next Fest. I do have a lot of consulting clients and project-based clients. Some of them are listed on the right-hand side. Actors Fund, Theater Development Fund, all the funds. We're going to keep this moving, though. Ultimately, the long and short of my full adult life is that I was very desperate to feel less invisible in any sort of genre of art I was playing in. And so I got really good and developed some very unconventional methods for getting attention. And so what happens, fast forward like 15 years, and now I do it for other organizations. And these are some of the examples of the clients that I've worked for recently, and some of the results that I got for them. That's the gist of my story, just so we can pass over that and get to the meat of the matter. Before we get too deep, though, I want to make sure everyone takes action at various points. This is when I say actions, action oriented, it's not a joke. I mean it. So I encourage you all to be following me on social media as well as the next festival, and quote anything you hear that sounds kind of smart, or to counter a point that I made. Make sure to tag me in it. We'll have that discussion online. Post about the next festival. This is an incredible opportunity. In fact, a lot of people miss the opportunity. Festivals like this are a huge gathering of like-minded individuals, and it's a missed opportunity if you don't use this as a springboard for communication, new followers, new potential collaborative partners. I mean, we even have workshops specifically dedicated to collaboration, as well as a sort of business and social causes elements of art that we're doing. So these are all things to think about. Tag us in your posts, please, so that we can be aware and help move things along and get share your work, etc. Alrighty, so what is happening? This is a great question. This is what I'm going to try to do in an hour. We're going to do some very brief psychological housekeeping because social media has now become a very loaded topic. We're going to do some real-time following boosting for your platforms. Please open your social media accounts, have them ready. This is not just a listen to me talk. I don't even like when that happens. So try to get in your hands in and play around with some of these ideas, at least so you experientially know where to find them, or maybe what to follow up on that you were excited about later. We're going to go through some tactical posting steps, the kinds of things that I do. Again, my work often revolves around having a little budget and very little time that people are paying me to utilize. And so I'm just going through like a day in the life of Jamie. This is what I do if I have multiple clients at once. So this is what I do to get in and get out and try to achieve something in the process. And then if for some reason that's feeling too specific or you're a little overwhelmed by that, I'm just going to litter this whole chat with a bunch of optimization hacks, just things to think about when you're posting. I'm going to throw some gems out there, and hopefully you collect something out of it. And at least on your daily habitual practice, however you are posting wise, you'll have these ideas like circling, and so you can play around, get some better results for yourself. And then we will definitely have a moment for questions, although I will say often my presentations, it's not necessarily that I just need to hold court and say a bunch of speeches at you or lecture at you. What I'm doing is trying to quickly give you actionable step-by-step options to increase the attention for the causes that you're passionate about. And you can stop me at any time and ask me to further elaborate on something. So we can see how this goes. Either hold your questions if you're not sure how to jump in, or if it's maybe a sidestep of what I'm talking about, and we'll attack it at the end. But also feel free to just stop me and ask to go a little further, elaborate, pull some threads. I'm happy to do that. This can absolutely be a very interactive, conversational sort of thing. And then we probably won't get to it, but this slide deck, for those of you that want to, I shared the link in the chat for those of you that may have came late to this slide deck that we're doing. So you can, after my sort of stopping point, I have other things that we could talk about. If for some reason this goes just lickety split super fast, cool, we'll keep going. If not, at least it's there for you to look at this slide deck, download it, and then you can play around with the options, click around on the helpful links. I've provided all of that. All right, we need to get started. First is some psychological housekeeping. I'll do this really briefly, but I find it's absolutely imperative based on the clients that I've worked with. Okay, short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops are destroying how society works. Okay, thanks for coming, everybody. I don't know, that sounds awful, right? So hilariously, the person that said that was a former Facebook head of user growth. And, you know, as we are all seeing the ramifications of the way social media, these algorithms have been working, yes, there are new mitigating circumstances to try to avoid this, but generally speaking, it appeals to this sort of tribalism of society. There's a lack of civil discourse, no cooperation, and it's a feeding ground for misinformation and mistruths. And we've seen that play out very clearly. The main elephant in the room is that we just don't trust anyone anymore. So there's a really interesting global trust barometer that this Edelman Corporation does every year. I encourage you to check it out. And it tests, surveys the masses on how they're feeling about everything from corporations to media, you name it. And what we're learning, and the trend that doesn't seem to be stopping, is that people trust what is very close to them more than institutions or authorities or even media. So what am I saying when I say all that? You know, because often I come upon the idea of like, why don't we just all quit social media? You know, just because I work in it doesn't mean I don't recognize the issues, and it's exhausting, you know. And ultimately, I did some research on this because I wanted to answer this question or counter maybe this point that you might have. Why don't we just not do it? And some very smart people, which I'll let you read here in the center, essentially they're saying that most of the misinformation that is spread online happens through peer-to-peer contact, right? Because again, we don't trust institutions as much anymore. So it's more about what Aunt Vicky said to us, you know, the other day or whatever. I have an Aunt Vicky. And what does that mean? What does that mean, peer-to-peer contact? It means that personal and political progress starts with you and the people that you directly interact with. This is both in real life and of course on social. One shining light I can say before we move on is that there has been a sort of groundswell for social justice through social media. Makes sense, they both have social in the name. And I'm going to leave you just a few very recent survey results because we got to keep this thing moving, and you can revisit this in any time. But the gist of what we're looking at here is that people, selfishly, nonprofits, arts-based entities are actually receiving more engagement as time goes on because often we are addressing inequalities, social justice, representation, and that sort of thing. Plus, brands want that their corporations to do positive things for vulnerable communities. Like there is a change that is happening. Even the way that these social media platforms are being held accountable is very different. You know, Congress held a bunch of you know, very open public scoldings of social media and are starting to catch up on how to regulate, for lack of a better word, these systems. So there is a change happening and we are part of that change. Okay, so what does that mean? I will say that Anne Hathaway is completely accurate. It isn't fair. We have limited time. We have limited psychological and emotional bandwidth. Social media is a moving target. I don't care who's saying it. If someone is telling you that they totally have a completely locked down how this social stuff works or how to do it responsibly and get results, it's a moving target. We're all figuring it out as we go. Plus, these systems are changing constantly. And no one truly knows how best to do it. We're all figuring it out as we go. And one more thing sort of to help us address our personal, perhaps, issues. Having worked with just a countless amount of artists, arts organizations, arts-based entities, I do find that there's a bit of a psychological block when it comes to self-promotion or promotion in general. A lot of the times people think of it as a chore or like providing spin or being inauthentic in order to sell tickets. That's really not what it's about. In fact, branding has gotten a really bad rap. So one thing I just want, a little nugget I want to throw in there is see if it does anything in your brains, is that self-promotion is essentially self-expression. And what do I mean by that? If you ask any therapist, psychologist, sociologist, they'll tell you that, you know, we perform our identities every day. The clothes that we put on, the haircuts, the music that we just like proclaim that we like, the movies that we watch, all of this is actually an expression of our identity, and it's a creative act. And so I encourage us to go into these tips that I'm going to give you with this idea of expressing your most authentic self. And I'm going to try to tell you how to get some results with that. So real-time following boost. All right, we're going to actually do some targeted following. I'm going to talk to you about what that means. Please have your social media accounts open. That's what this slide is about. All right. So social media, I can't stress this enough, is a team sport. What do I mean by that? It used to be called social networking. Does anyone remember when it was called social networking? So these algorithms, okay, there's twofold reasons why you should be engaging with others and creating relationships on social media. Because the algorithms, one, reward you for it. So the more interactivity you have with other accounts, the more visibility both of you get. So you're rewarded for interacting with people. And then there's the actual human altruistic element of doing this, because you actually build relationships, trust, followers, collaborators, co-conspirators, etc. So it's really critical to remember that it's not just about you, social media. Sadly, it's gotten a rap of I'm just broadcasting about myself, this sort of one-way broadcasting. This is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm eating today. That's actually not how social media works best. We're going to get all into that. So there's a couple ways in which we can address this issue in our daily posting life. I call it mutually assured creation as opposed to destruction because I think I'm clever. One thing that I found does work really well. Most of the time, many of us have a sort of small group of diehard friends, colleagues, collaborators, people that have a shared interest in supporting each other. And so some ways that I found that this works is you can create on something like Instagram, you can create a message thread and invite those like handful of people that are super helpful. And when you have a new post, you can share that link in this little message thread. And so everybody sees it, clicks through and comments and likes. We're going to talk about why that's useful algorithmically in a second. Also, what we're going to actually try right now is what I call targeted following. So Instagram is the best example of this, but you can do it anywhere. I should probably be clear. I meant to say this earlier, but I didn't memorize any of this. So we're going to explore Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All of my tips are for that. Predominantly, we're going to touch on some other things. And this is only for organic posting. And what does that mean? It just means without a budget, without an ad budget. So advertising is essentially an entire other, the fact that I'm even trying to tell you everything I do about organic posting in an hour is like wild. We're going to still try though. But advertising is like a whole separate beast. Things like Snapchat is like a whole separate TikTok. It's a whole separate thing. But Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are sort of the foundational elements. You can get a lot out of them. And they're sort of they all work in a sort of similar but slightly different way. So we're going to try to do this. You used to hear that following people on Instagram, for instance, you used to just follow anyone and get a follow back. That's not really how it works anymore, or is it? It's a little different. When I say targeted following, it means by following very specific people that I'm going to show you how to find, you will get a very strong follow back because these are people with shared interests, shared contacts. We're going to talk about it. So ultimately, what I'm hoping is that people that post about you, and we're going to tell you tactically how to do this. People that post about you, everyone that likes, their followers that like posts about you are ripe for following you. They're already saying they like what you're doing. Let's get into that. Okay. Go to Instagram right now. If you have Instagram, I'm sorry. If you don't, we're going to hit your stuff soon. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. Let me know if you can't hear me. Okay, so targeted following. We're going to look at on Instagram. Go to your profile page. That should be on the bottom right-hand corner with your little profile picture. That's what you click to get there. You can do this on your phone or on desktop, doesn't matter. Okay, but we're looking at a phone just because it fits easier. So if you'll notice, right above all of your feed images that you've posted, you have, sorry, I got to move this, speaker window. Okay, so you have this little, this little Rubik's Cube sort of thing. Those are all the posts that you posted. The middle sort of little television set is your IGTV. That's another conversation. I don't find it incredibly useful, but it can be, but that's not really what we're talking about. Over one more tab, you'll see a little humanoid figure with a little square around them. If you click that, that will show you everyone that's tagged you. There are two things you can do with this. I'm going to tell you the first one. Okay, so let's try to give you an example, right? I didn't do that here because, NextFest just posted about me today, but we'll use them as an example. So move over to this middle image. I clicked on an image that I'm tagged in, right? Let's say that it's me on set shooting something, because sometimes I perform. I'm all over the place. let's say though that this is NextFest posting me as a presenter. So everyone that liked, you'll see their little highlighted boxes is what I'm sort of pointing you to. If you click on that number of hearts, you'll see the next screenshot with all the people that liked or hearted that post. And then right next to them, what do you see? You see a little follow button. Okay, so say this image is a picture of Next Festival promoting me as a speaker, and I click on the number, which I did. Hello, some of you that I just followed. And I got this screenshot on the right-hand side. I follow all of those people because essentially, and these aren't random people you're following. Who's following Next Festival? Artists, right? I help artists promote their work. I am an artist myself. So we have a lot in common, essentially, is what I'm saying. So you can follow those people, and then what happens is they'll get an alert that you followed them. They'll click through to your profile page, which is what you see on the far left. And if you have a strong bio with a link to your website, those are handy to have there. But what I find is the second you follow someone in Instagram is really the only time they're probably going to visit your profile page. Otherwise, they'll just see stuff in their feeds. Okay, so, but they'll visit your profile page and make a snap decision to follow you or not. What I will tell you is that across the board, I do this for dozens of clients all the time, every week. I would encourage you to try some of this now. Look at who's tagged you. I'm trying to think of an example, like if you're part of an orchestra or like a music group, and they posted a picture of you all playing together, someone else's account, maybe one of the people that you play with posted it and you are in it and you're tagged in it. If you click on the number of hearts and follow those people, you are likely to get a 30 to 60% follow back. Meaning, if 100 people liked a post about me that NextFest did, and I followed all those people, I would expect at least 30 to 60 people follow me back all within 24 hours. Again, these are not random people. These are, and what's hilarious is oftentimes the people that are tagging you, say you're in a music group and someone that you play with posted a picture with you in it, those people actually might even know you or have heard about you or have watched you play. It's not random, it's super targeted. I know I'm saying targeted too much, but I'm trying to emphasize you're not following just whoever. You're following people that likely are friends with people that you collaborate with and are saying they like what you're doing together. Those are people that are ready to follow you. It doesn't take much after that. Okay, I'm going to get off my high horse about this because there's more things I want to show you. Also, something to really, the way this works the best, which is just a little side note, is if you have a really strong Instagram bio, which is the upper third of the page, one of the red arrows is pointing at the little descriptive element of your website. So don't just say, hey, I'm an artist, or hey, I play cello. No. What is your point of view on the thing? What can you tell us about who you are? If you come from a small town and now you're living in New York City, that's kind of interesting. Like tell us a little bit more about you, how you come to music, why you do music, or whatever your art form is. Or what you maybe have to offer. Again, this is something that I would write for you if I worked for you, but I don't. So I encourage you to play around with trying to make it as dynamic as possible and use as many descriptive elements as possible. So maybe like, for instance, if you're a choreographer, is your movement athletic? Is it minimal? Is it avant-garde? Like those kinds of descriptive elements really help frame quickly for people that are visiting your page what you do and what to expect. Plus, make sure to have your website there because people definitely do click on your website from your profile page, and they do that the first time they follow you, and that's about it. So these are things to think about. We won't get too far into highlights, but if you do post a story, there's a little heart on the bottom of the story once it's published, which is depicted on the upper right corner. If you click on that, you can create these little circular tabs that you see there's a red arrow pointing to. These are called highlights. You can name those highlights. You can edit what the cover image is. It's a nice way to break down what you do for people. Like, so if you teach, maybe only stories about teaching go into that highlight. If you compose, maybe only composition stories go in there. It's just a nice quick way to show the different parts of what you do. So that's something to think about. You can also do this almost same thing on Facebook. This would be your Facebook business page, not your personal profile. We're not talking about personal profiles today. Okay, so if you post something, and you can look at this right now. So I want to re-emphasize, you can try this stuff right now. I am daring you to increase your following right now. Okay, so if you post something on your Facebook page and you click the little number, it's just like Instagram almost. You click the little number of hearts, reactions, all of that stuff. Try it now if you have a Facebook page. And you'll get this little pop-up window that you're looking at now. You'll get everyone that hearted, laughed, liked, whatever, and look on the right-hand side. What do you see? You see the opportunity to invite people. Most people won't really follow your Facebook page unless they're specifically invited. And there are a lot of reasons someone who's not currently following you might see your post. It might be that their friend is tagged in it in the post. It could be, there's a lot of ways they could find it. Hashtags, there's like a million ways. So just because they like something that you're doing on your Facebook page doesn't mean they're following you. So sometimes what I'll often do when I get a new client is I'll go through 2 years of their posting on Facebook and just invite everyone, because no one seems to do it. And in fact, what it says on the top of this page, help them see future posts and invite, you actually will likely get notifications. You might have been skipping over them if you didn't know what they were. You'll get notifications with that exact language. And if you click on that, it'll open up this window. And that's in your notifications. Okay, play around with this stuff. Another thing most people don't even think to do, because it seems like such a what you did the first year you had Facebook, is that if you go to your business page and you click on those 3 little dots on the far right-hand corner that this slide depicts, you'll get a drop-down field. And look at what that red arrow is pointing to. It's pointing to invite friends. Most people kind of forget about this. And I shock clients, new clients, because what I'll do is I'll go on there and invite all of my relevant friends to follow their page. And I might have thousands of friends, right? You can select all your friends if you just want to spit it out there. You can also go through specifically and invite people you think are most likely to be interested. But in doing so, you can get a couple hundred new followers within a couple days. You know what I mean? So these are just things most people don't think about. Or if you did it once, you have a lot more friends now. And again, I encourage you to try this right now. Please don't just listen to me talk. Try to get your it's not your feet wet. I almost said your hands wet. I don't know. So try this out. It works wonders. Plus, anyone that you work with, also ask them specifically to do this. Invite their relevant friends to follow that page. Otherwise, you're just going to kind of stay invisible. One of the reasons I'm talking about all these like very specific tactical things is that most of these social media platforms, they're a bit pay to play, meaning unless you have an advertising budget, it doesn't often work out for you. You stay pretty invisible. And this is, I would say, especially true on Facebook. You're pretty invisible if you're not doing advertising. But I have a ton of little tricks that I do because not all my clients have an advertising budget. So these are some of the things I do because the more you increase your following, it's not all about followings, everyone. It's not about raw numbers. But when people start following you, the algorithms actually will show you your posts. Like right after they follow you, they will see your posts a lot because you're a new follow, and the algorithms will show you to those new followers. So the more growth oriented you are, the more your engagement will go up as well. Okay, Jamie, move on. I hope I'm not taking too long. Oh boy. Okay. This also works on Twitter. So if you go to any sort of relevant organization, you could do this with the NextFest Twitter account if you want right now. If you go to any sort of, like if you're a dancer, go to Dance Magazine on Twitter. Go to a big institution that is in your field on Twitter. If you scroll down a few posts, you'll see what's on the right-hand side with the red arrows, who to follow. So they'll give you organizations that are similar to the organization's profile you're visiting. So you just go on a follow frenzy. And again, follow them if you like them, obviously. If it's like a company you hate, don't follow them. For the most part, You're going to find a lot of companies maybe you didn't know on Twitter, or you didn't realize you probably should be following. And you'll get the same result. You'll get an immediate follow back. Because again, you're all part of like a shared genre of performance. You all love, maybe you're all percussionists. Like if you're a percussionist and you go to like drum magazine, there's actually a drum magazine. There's actually all kinds of drum magazines I found because I was just promoting a drummer. So I'm doing this for all my clients constantly thinking, okay, what organization is like the organization I'm working for? Let me go there and follow people. This is how I get a boost of followers for my clients. Okay, so this is definitely the biggest take action of the whole session because we don't have a lot of time together, sadly. So make sure that you are trying out some of these things, both now while I was talking about it and maybe even still as I continue or revisit this, because remember, the link in the chat links you to this slide deck. So you can always revisit. I'm going to go through a lot of stuff, so I apologize if I'm racing through, because this is also designed to revisit and take step by step, follow up on the things that you wanted to try that maybe you forgot about, or, whatever you want to do with it. The slide is yours. And again, there are helpful links in the slide notes for those of you that maybe came late or didn't know. All right, so we're talking about tactical posting steps. These are examples of the kinds of quick, can't stress quick enough. I am often hired to work like, I don't know, and a good example would be like an hour a day for an organization. Social media can be a full-time job. So how do I get in and try to get results with little to no time? These are things that I do. So definitely on Instagram, you are missing a huge opportunity if you're not using stories well. There's a difference between just like doing stories and doing them well, because stories are growing 15 times faster than feed-based sharing. This is the best way on Instagram to get sharing, and sharing is make or break on social media. If you're just posting passively on a social media account and then just letting it sit there and like hoping for the best, you likely aren't going to do very well. So there's things you can do with little additional things like stories to help maximize the results of your posting. Let's talk about it. Okay, so one thing you can do is when you do post a feed post on Instagram, if you look, I'm trying to take you with the arrows. It's so hard. These screenshot slides are so ugly. I like a pretty slide, but I just got to do it because I'm trying to really be illustrative of what you're supposed to do. So on the far left-hand side, you see a post that was posted into the feed. And you'll see a little paper airplane symbol on the bottom where the arrow is. You click that, you'll get the opportunity to add to your story. Okay, and then look on the next half. It'll load that into your story, and that little window will be an active link to take people to your post. So you're actually drawing traffic to your post. So a lot of the times, public relations marketing, it's all about creating relevant access points for your audience. You want as many places that people can find you and link to the things that you need them to go to. So sharing a post in your story is a great way to do that. Guess what? It's not always just good enough to share your feed post in your story. You have to tag relevant people. So you tag the artist. When I say tag people, I don't mean tag random organizations you hope share. I mean tag people that are part of what you're doing, right? So if the post is about an artist, you tag the artist. If the image or the video is at a certain venue, you tag the venue because it's there. Whoever the lighting designer is, you tag them. You tag all the people that are relevant to that post, right? And then you can do it invisibly, which is what I'm trying to show you probably clumsily here. If you'll look in this blue story, in the arrow, it's pointing, you can actually tag people with the text feature and then make it a color that's similar to the background color, the default background color. You can shrink it down and then hide it in a little corner. So you don't want to put too much information in your story because people have a hard time processing. But you can hide your co-conspirators online. You can tag them all, hide it down unless you're giving them overt credit. There's a difference. But you can also just hide your tagging too. Maybe for organizations that are friends of yours but aren't part of the post. People that you've agreed. Remember, social media is a team sport. So your team, you can tag your team You can tag your best friend, you can tag collaborator. They don't have to be part of that post. And then on the far right, you'll see, this is an example of a post actually I did for NextFest. And so you can also tag people in a really overt way. So like I quoted VJ Iyer and this Okazaki studio. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Okazaki studio. Because they quoted, this is the quotes they gave me on Twitter. I posted them as a story in Instagram. And I made sure you can't see this from the snapshot, but the word tonight and the link in bio were animated. You can add little animated stickers to your stories, which are really fun. And so I always use animated stickers for the main call to action or the main information I want them to have. I was making sure they knew that it's tonight. The link's in the bio. Tonight, link in the bio. I was trying to make that really clear so that they clicked on it. I also am tagging the relevant artist in the image itself. And then I did invisibly, like with a dark gray color, a bunch of people that are also involved that would be invested in sharing. So that's some examples of stories. Make sure that you are using, if you're on Facebook, it's a huge missed opportunity if you're not using Facebook groups or any groups in general. We're going to talk about more than just Facebook, but honestly, if you just post to Facebook and walk away, I just don't think it's going to do much. I share every post that I do on Facebook for my clients to various relevant groups. What are they? So there's a link in the slide notes. I encourage you to look at it. Try it now. You could probably find a group and join it right now. This is what I'm saying. Like, let's do it. It's rare that we make time to set ourselves up for success in terms of marketing. So while we're talking, try some things out. Reach out, try some things. Facebook has all these, countless groups around different sort of topics. And I put a little step-by-step on how you find them here and the bullet points and everything. So, if you are a contemporary composer, there's a group for contemporary composers. If you're a contemporary composer in New York City, there's probably a group that's contemporary composers, New York City. It's just a million different options for you. And I join and you can join the groups as your Facebook page, not your. You can select whether you join as your personal self or your business page. So I encourage you to follow as your business page. So then this is another fun thing. Say I post something about NextFest. Well, I don't run the Facebook, but sometimes I post there. Say I post on Next Festival's Facebook. I will then share it to if it's a contemporary classical, maybe composer, I'll share that to a contemporary classical group. And then anyone that likes that post that you shared, you can invite them to like your page. So it's a great organic way to build up your following because, again, like I said, your visibility on Facebook without advertising is really minimal. But this is a quick hack you can do. Anytime you post on Facebook, you immediately share it to groups that are relevant, not random. You can't share it to all the groups you follow, but you could share to the specific ones that make sense for that post, right? And you're posting about similar kinds of things usually. So for the most part, you can use a lot of them. Something to think about. It expands the reach and is a great way to get new followers with shared interests. Okay, so don't be afraid to use messenger services. Often when I make a post, I even share them through Messenger, mainly on Twitter and Instagram. I think Facebook's a little harder because you can only do it as your personal self and not your page. Anyway, let me get into this. So I recently did a press. I do all kinds of marketing. I don't know if I made that clear. But I recently had to do a press workshop. So these are the most readily available screenshots I had. But it works the same way. This is a great tip for everyone watching this. You can get press through social media. Absolutely. Everything works together. It's called integrated marketing, right? Okay. So this was a New York One reporter. And on the right-hand side, you can see that I reached out to her about featuring one of my clients that I had a while ago. And she responded right away and said, yes, thanks, definitely, I want to do the feature. Just like that. I took 2 seconds out of my day in Twitter to just be like, hey, you can also do this with your posts. You can share a link to your most recent post to anyone that's relevant. I do this with all my clients. So I'm trying to think of an example. Say as NextFest, I share a workshop with a cello player, and they have worked for all of these different orchestras. I'll send a message to one of the orchestras they worked for, just like you see here, and say, hey, we're talking about you over on our page. We're presenting so-and-so who you know because you play with them. If you'd like, you can share this. It's, a free workshop that I think your audience might be interested in. Always lead with like why it would benefit them. Don't just say, hey, please share me. Say, hey, we're talking about you. This might benefit your audience. We know the same people. It's like a mutual connection thing, which is less spammy. And it does work. I even am giving an example here, I think, on LinkedIn, which I will touch on. I did the same thing to get a New York Times article. And this is the little exchange that we did. I also looked at her website and knew that she liked baby cows. So I said, oh, also, I did my pitch. And then I said, oh, also, here's a baby cow that's cute. And she was like, yes, I want to interview. I want to get in touch. So I just try to remember that you are a human online and to share. We're all just connecting in a human way. That's what does work the best. Okay, and link to your posts in your emails. Boy, how are we doing on time? Okay, Jamie, can he do it in 20 minutes? We're gonna find out. Okay, so also, often what I will do is this is why this integrated marketing is the best approach. All of these systems kind of have to shake hands. So any sort of email that you send out, it often works well if you can also put links to your most recent post, right? Because I've noticed even I'm promoting something maybe through an email, but they're more interested in clicking around. On the right-hand side is actually an example of one of my emails. They're clicking around because they're interested in all the stuff I'm posting down here. That link to my social accounts. And that gives you, they're interested in you, right? So it's not a far reach to be like, oh, they might be interested in what I posted on social. You can totally share that at the end of your message. Have your, promote your thing at the top, and then at the bottom, have options to connect with you on social. Don't just say follow me on social. Actually put a little picture and be like, this is what I got going on, and make that a hyperlink to the post. Also on the left-hand side, it's really helpful for causes. This was an email campaign I did for Carol Armitage. She choreographed the Madonna's Vogue video, just to brag about her. And I was promoting her stuff, and our social media was being censored. We were trying to do ads, and they closed down all of our accounts because they thought it was pornographic, which it was not. So if you have a cause that you want to get behind through social, like I mentioned before, you can absolutely do it this way. And here's an example of I'm like, hey, they're telling us that this image isn't right. We want you to go on social media. Click here because like we censored what they didn't like. So that image linked to our social posts. And we got a huge uptick after the email campaigns were sent of engagement, likes, followers, because people were rallying on social behind a thing, behind a cause. So these are missed opportunities if you don't do them. Again, do what you can. It's not like I make an email especially for a social post, but often we are emailing our audience. So if you can, include the most recent social posts you have and try to tie it in some way. Okay, so I'm trying to wrap this up because we have a lot more to go through. Essentially, the takeaways from these sort of posting tactics I want you to be aware of is that I post a dynamic mix of native media, which we're going to talk about in a second. I'm sorry, I'm a little premature here. A dynamic media, tagging everyone involved in the post, and a few relevant hashtags. We're going to talk about how to do hashtags well in a second. I share that post to various groups, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, or I share it with friendly or related accounts. Like I talked about the orchestra, I might share a post we did about an artist that works in that orchestra, right? So and this sounds like a lot, but I do it very fast. And if you get used to that habit of like knowing how to optimize the post, which we're going to get into, sharing that post to relevant groups right away, and sending traffic there through like email or to share your Instagram post in a story, that's driving traffic to the post, right? If you're just aware of these things, it greatly amplifies the reach and the engagement you get, and even the following you get from your social posts without any advertising budget, which is a small miracle. And then this is kind of an extra credit thing. I engage new potential partners. So often, like say I have an hour to post on Twitter for Next Fest. Although I have to do a few things in an hour, but let's say I have a full hour. So I'll post the dynamic media with the hashtags. I'll share it. I'll message people that are relevant to it. Make sure I tag relevant people who might be interested in sharing. oh, if I'm on Instagram, I'm posting on Instagram, I'll share it to a story. If I do the email for the client, then I'll add it to an email. And then I'll also complete some light targeted following, that thing we were talking about on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'm constantly just like following relevant accounts, or like say I'm a dance company, I might go to Dance Magazine's Instagram account and follow relevant people that like their most recent posts, even if it wasn't about me, because they're, you know, it's the dance community. They're going to be interested in my dance company likely. So these are all things to think about. Also sharing relevant work. If I'm on Twitter, you know, even if New Music USA is not talking about us, but it's still something our audience would enjoy, I'll share that because it creates a relationship with that organization. Okay, Jamie, move on. We're going to talk about, I'm just going to riddle you with just like a few smart things to know about how to make every post count. Because I don't want you, a lot of the times on social, we have this need to feed the beast. Just like every day I need to put something out there, even if we're not doing it well, that's a bit of time wasted there. And my whole point is to not waste time. So let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm gonna rattle off some general suggestions about content, and then I'll get more specific as we go. So try to contribute with your posts, with messaging or whatever, to the national conversation that's happening around your genre. Like, I don't know, I work for CUNY Dance Initiative. Peter Martins, who was the director of New York City Ballet, he was fired due to sexual harassment concerns. Did it have anything to do with CUNY Dance Initiative? No. Did I post about that and ask questions about what are people's experience? Like, I'm contributing to the conversation, and those posts always do very well. And it's still engaging with your audience in a relevant way. These are things that are actually really important to your audience. We want to be part of that conversation with them. Also, lead the main thing you want from your audience in the first sentence of your post. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people have a sort of meandering, almost stream of consciousness way that they type the words in their social posts. Like, keep it tight, keep it short. And if you want someone to click on the link in your bio, if there's something happening on a specific date and time, put that right at the top, because what happens is your text will get cut off and you'll have to click see more in order to read the full thing. So most people are not going to click see more. We are scrolling for our dear lives, right? We're skimming at best at all times. So it's something to think about. Aggregate relevant organizations. Just like I said, if someone relevant to your organization posts about something, again, it's about, don't forget the networking part of social networking. Share other things that aren't just about you. It's not all about you, right? And that'll only benefit you in a selfish way. So some of the most generous things you can do on social media, or the most selfish thing you can do, is to be generous. Okay, so tag any biographical associations. If you're referencing where someone works, who they play with, make sure that you're doing the little @ symbol and where they are on social media, because that's how you get little alerts and people finding out. And they have a vested interest in that post because they're part of that person, that artist, that organization. Do a mix of photos and short video. When I say short, I mean very short. It can be 15 seconds. People don't really watch even a full minute of video often. So you don't even, keep it nice and tight. Use little to no words in the actual media itself. A lot of the times people are posting postcards on these social platforms. That's like their photo. Across the way, no matter who I'm working for, those never do as well. In fact, I've been told the algorithms can read the negative space and tell there's a lot of text, and people don't want promotional stuff thrust upon them. So like a postcard, just generally speaking, people will skip over it. So you put the important information in the text and just have a dynamic image to stop them from scrolling and actually look at what you're doing. Also, expressive faces and expressive bodies always do better, just generally speaking. Let's talk more. So I know we've been talking about getting your following boost. I hope you're still playing around with that targeted following stuff. It's really not all about likes and followers. I know that sounds crazy, but the most important metric you can look at in your analytics, which I hope you do at least once a month, but that's another topic for another time, is to look at engagement. And how do you get engagement? So let's talk about it. Some of the top ranking algorithm factors to consider are the more comments, replies, reactions, and shares that you get, the better that post will do. This is why I'm saying try to expand the visibility of every post you do, because then you'll get more comments, more replies, more reactions, and then the algorithms will show it to more people because they'll think, oh, this is a post people are interested in. Let's show it to more of them. All of these things help dramatically. So when I say native media, here's a tricky thing, an ominous, dark thing about social media is that, okay, I'll try to give an example. Say on Facebook or Twitter or something like that, you post a link to your latest YouTube video. Facebook will deprioritize, is what they call that post, because they don't want people leaving the website. So they don't want to click away. Even articles can suffer from this. It doesn't mean you can never post a link to something, but often I immediately, if I load a video onto YouTube, I'll load that same video or a clip of it directly into Facebook or Twitter. And then I might put a link within the text that says, to watch the whole thing, click here. And that's fine. But the attached media is what matters here when I say native media. Load the raw file. Or if it's a video, a screenshot from the video, or just try to load it directly in to whatever platform you're using. Make sure to flesh out your full profile. Again, like there are so many people I see on Instagram or whatever not have a bio or add their website link to their Instagram page. The less you have filled out, if you don't have a profile picture, obviously, you're going to be seen as like suspicious. So just the more that your profile is filled out, the better. Like I was talking about with contributing to the national conversation, the more topical you can be, the better. Sometimes you can even relate what you're doing to what is going on in the zeitgeist of the world, because we're all part of, the generation and the time that we're in. So if you can link it to a greater conversation that's going on, often you will be rewarded algorithmically for that, because there's little bots reading the text. And if they can link it to what, like a current event that's happening, the more likely your post will do better. And it will create discussion, which again causes more comments, replies, shares, all of this stuff sort of compounds and snowballs and creates your best fighting chance to get seen. This sounds counterintuitive, I know, but like I mentioned before, most people complain about social media to social media corporations that they want less spam, they want less promotional material. They're on social to relate to their family and friends, and we're inundated with so much promotion in our everyday lives. I mean, think of how fast on YouTube you click skip ad. I don't even see what that ad is, even though it was on for 10 seconds. Do you know what I mean? So again, this is why things like postcards don't often work. Like, share the most dynamic media you have, and then connect in a human way with the text, but also just let people know where to go and what to do. Those tend to do a little bit better. People are very hip to like sort of promotional jargon. Also, another little fun fact, name your media very well. So the way that these they're called spiders, the weird little bots that read the internet and rank things on Google, they're actually not reading the image or the video that you're posting. They're reading the title of the video or the image. Do you ever notice how some of your images are by default titled 1, 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? So when the internet reads that, it sees nothing. But if I'm posting an image of a dancer at Lincoln Center, I'm going to tag the dance company in the title of the photo. The Lincoln Center, if it was contemporary dance, I'll put contemporary dance all in the title of the image. Again, marketing is just about creating more access points to your work, right? So all of those, if people search images for like contemporary dance Lincoln Center, that photo may show up from social media, and then they click through to social media and then they found you, right? So it's just access points. Make sure to be responsive. It doesn't have to be time consuming. You don't always have to have a full discussion in the comment threads of any posts, but if somebody bothers to actually comment on your posts, that's above and beyond. Most of us are not, we don't have the bandwidth to do it, right? So if someone actually comments on your post, at least give it a heart. You're getting notifications probably on your phone, or when you do finally visit, even if it's the next day or the day after, just try to get there as fast as you can and at least acknowledge their existence. All of those things help. If someone shares something you did, you'll likely have a notification. Heart that they shared it, the post that they shared. These little touches, again, just help give that moment to get activity. Plus, this is especially true on Facebook and Instagram. Time check. Oh gosh. All right, I'm still going. I think we can do it. I might go like a few minutes over, but I promise I'll wrap it up as soon as we can. Um, yes?
Jamie, it's okay. We
Okay.
love you.
Okay.
We'll stick around for a couple extra minutes. That's great.
Okay. We'll give it a go. And then, of course, if you have questions, I know that I've motor mouth Mabel here. Even if there's not a lot of time to do questions in this chat, you can contact me personally. Again, jamiebenson.com. There's plenty of ways to contact me. I'm very Googleable. By design, I'm very Googleable. Okay, so on Instagram and Facebook, it's really critical to pick a good thumbnail. I would say even more so on Instagram. Most people don't know this, and that's what this image depicts, is that in the filter section of your Instagram, when you're loading an image or a video, there's a filter moment. Okay, so if you look down at the bottom of your phone, or yeah, it would be phone, I think, you'll see filter, and then it goes across in a sort of tab-like fashion. Filter, trim, cover. So if you click on cover, you can actually thumb over the entire, if it's a video, this is for videos, sorry. If you can thumb, scroll over the full video. Try this right now if you want to. Again, I encourage you to actively get your hands on something, even if you're not posting, if you don't finish posting, make sure you know where it is and you know how to do it, right? It's so sad. People upload these beautiful videos, but the first like 3 seconds are black. People have already scrolled past your video in their feed. Does that make sense, everyone? So if you can pick a striking thumbnail, that's the main image that they'll see. Also, trim the black stuff out. You have the attention is so ruthless. If you have 2 seconds of black, they'll just keep scrolling, right? So try to get to the meat of the matter when you're posting. Again, your videos don't have to be long. A 10-second video may do a lot better than the full minute that you use, so these are things to think about. So pick a strong cover image. Again, expressive faces, expressive bodies. Try to find a good moment in there and choose that before you post. All right, this is just a countdown for 24 hours. Every post only has about 24 hours to be viable. There are all of the things that I've talked about with you, they're all going to help increase the visibility of your post. All of the things I've been talking about, making sure to tag the right people, sharing it to your story, which is there for 24 hours. All of those things, making sure to heart comments and react to people, all of those things will help elevate a post to keep it going. It's almost like I'm trying to think of like, if you think of like a basketball spinning on a finger, if you stop hitting it, it'll just fall off your finger. You do have to kind of tend it. And it's really only a 24-hour period. One amazing thing I can tell you is that, and most people are relieved to hear this, I hope that you are too, is that I don't think you need to post every day. In fact, most of the time I'm encouraging my clients to post less, but post smarter. Again, this idea of like feeding the beast, like this incessant obligations is just like, I got to put something out there. If you're not doing it well, you are wasting some of your time, and time is the ultimate money, right? So honestly, for some of my part-time clients, I maybe only post once a week on their Instagram, but those posts all do very well because I'm just a little more careful. I sometimes even take a day or two to like play around to figure out like who are the collaborators on social. You have to research that sometimes, right? What might be the best hashtags? It's not like I spend a long time thinking about the post, but it helps me feel less stressed because it's not about posting every day. But I'm aware of that. I want something to go out, and I'm always sort of moving it forward. And I only post when I'm really ready, where I'm going to be ready to share it into a story, to maybe send it to a messenger thread of some of my like favorite people, whatever. So I think about those things in advance a little bit, and I make sure the second I post, because again, the clock is ticking the second you post it. And I would say the first couple hours are the most critical. If you can get some interaction like right away off those first couple hours, you can kind of set it and forget it. It'll just kind of roll on its own, if that makes sense. Okay, Jamie, keep moving. I am getting somewhere, I think. Okay. Hashtags. Let's just go through it fast because I know we're running low on time. On Instagram, you can do up to 30. I don't recommend it. I would say the sweet spot somewhere between 5 to 10 to 15, something like that. Definitely studies suggest do under 3 for Facebook and Twitter because it looks spammy if you have too many hashtags in that post. For Instagram, people don't really see like the bottom of your text posts. So it's less intrusive visually. You can post them in the comments. There's really no difference. I like them in the text itself, but whatever. Don't repeat your hashtags. Like, don't just copy and paste the same 10 hashtags over and over again because they won't be relevant for every post. Like, when I say be descriptive, you're not being descriptive enough usually. If I'm posting a picture of me as a dancer kicking my leg up to my head, which I can do, I might hashtag leg up, right? So, or high kick. That's not going to work for every post that I do. Plus, the algorithms reading our posts, they actually will red flag you for looking like spam, because a spam bot will just post the same exact block of hashtags over and over again, and they'll use all 30 over and over again. So you don't really want to do that. You want to think, and if you don't have a lot of stamina for figuring out which hashtags are best, try at least a handful always. Because again, you're creating new access points to find you. Now, the under 500,000 in use. So look at it now if you're unfamiliar with this. If you have Instagram, pull out your phone, like search a hashtag or start searching it. So like say I'm hashtagging, I don't know, contemporary music, right? So once I start typing contemporary, you'll get a drop-down field of all the different autocomplete options that could lead to. And you'll see a little gray number under each of those hashtags. That will tell you how many times it's been used. Okay, get ready. You don't want to use anything that has millions of uses because there are too many people using it. And the second you post, you'll be like a 2-year scroll down from anyone finding it. But you also don't want to use hashtags that only have a few hundred or even a few thousand in use because no one's really searching that hashtag, right? So like if someone's obsessed with dancers doing high kicks and doing flexibility, you know, if they might search hashtag high kick because they just find that fun or whatever. And so the sweet spot I find is somewhere between 100,000 and 500,000 in use. Those are popular hashtags that people are actively looking at, but they're not so saturated or competitive that your post won't get seen. I know it's a lot, but think very specifically at what is in the image. Use your hashtags based on what the media is, not what the text is. So if the media is a musician playing something, you know, you might hashtag clarinet player. You might hashtag musicians of Instagram. Even if you're promoting a workshop by that artist, that's not what the image depicts, right? All we have to go on for these searching of hashtags is the image. So try to stick more to being descriptive about what's in the media. If it is a music video, hashtag music video. If it's a picture of a dancer dancing, hashtag dance photo. Be specific to what you're sharing. All right, we're not going to talk about Twitter too much because a lot of artists don't use it, but Twitter can be really exciting in a certain way if you use it in a certain way. So I encourage you to look up what Twitter lists are because we don't have time. We're already over. But what you do is you create a list. I might have a link in the slide notes, but very Googleable. You can create a list on Twitter. I do this with NextFest, where all of our like artist speaking circle and performance collaborators, I added them to a list. So I don't waste a lot of time on Twitter with unfocused scrolling. I'll click that list of our artist circle, and the only thing in the feed will just be posts by that artist, or not, sorry, those artists, those collaborators, right? So I get in and out. I engage with the people that are most helpful. I'll also create sort of aspirational lists, like I'll create a press list of people that write about the kind of work that client does. And so I'll click on that press list and only engage with people that are in press. And like you saw, you can absolutely create a relationship and set up press through social media. The other great thing about Twitter are institutions. Like Not a lot of artists are very active on Twitter, to my chagrin. But institutions are, meaning like Next Fest, like I tagged, this is the importance of tagging. We presented a Pulitzer Prize winning artist. I tagged Pulitzer Prizes and they retweeted it and they have like 1 million followers. With the CUNY Dance Initiative, we shared an artist that did a residency at the Met Museum. I tagged the Met and they retweeted it. There's something really easy about institutions that would never give you the time of day on another platform. They'll just retweet something you did. It's amazing. There is a trending section of a section of Twitter. If it relates again to the national conversation, use it if that relates to what you're posting about. You can also run polls. Look it up because we don't have time. I'm going to try to wrap things up here. One real little just funny note I want to say is there is a sleeping giant on social media, and that is LinkedIn. People don't realize it, but LinkedIn, people go there to do things. It's not playtime. So they're interested in sharing and networking and whatever, and it can actually drive better leads or website visits than other platforms. I'm going to give you a very quick example. I wrote this article about boys in ballet, and I shared it in a dance industry professionals worldwide group with 28,000 members. That article got a way big boost after that, and lots of comments on the page. And you can do this for your social posts as well, or any events that you have going on. In closing, okay, we're getting there. Let's see, what did I have as a closing? We're going to do it fast because I want to make sure if you have questions, start thinking about them because we'll rush through that too. Okay, in closing, what are things that we learned today? Remember that self-promotion is essentially just an extension of your creative self-expression, of who you are as an individual, your own unique, authentic identity. And so try to hold on to that in order to shirk some of the sort of chore or resentment that some of us have in this thing that we have to promote ourselves as individual artists often. Also, don't forget the networking part of social networking. It's really make or break. These social platforms work best when we're doing community building. That's how they're designed to work, and you will get rewarded for that. Make sure to just take anything you can, even if it's only 1 or 2 little ideas. Any of the tools we've talked about, the tactics, use them to create a bridge from your most authentic self, your best ideas, to the people that are most likely to benefit from them. And I wish you all the luck. Okay, make sure to quote, post, follow, tag. If this was a little overwhelming for you, welcome to my brain every day. I would encourage you to follow right now. There's a link in the slide notes. Next Festival on YouTube, because eventually this will be played back and live there. So make sure to tell your friends about it who couldn't come. Make sure to let them know. And also jamiebenson.com if you need to reach out to me. I'm very accessible. I don't evaporate after this, and I do like helping people without martyring myself, obviously, but I do like to, if I can steer you in a direction, I will happily do it. Okay, ask questions. Here we go. If you have them. It's okay if you don't.
Hey, Jamie.
Yeah.
It's Brad.
Brad, hi.
Is there a best time during the day to make a post to get the best traction for that 24-hour period?
Great question, Brad. Delighted to see your face. Yes and no. You can see what works best for your individual platforms. For the most part, though, I would say it's best to post in the morning. Because, and you can even see this if you look on Instagram, your insights, it'll even show you when your audience is most on Instagram, for instance. This is true for Facebook as well. But generally, the easiest rule of thumb is to post generally in the morning, like even 8 to 11-ish, like anywhere in there is usually best, because people are actively using the platform throughout the day. And at night, it does lighten up a little bit. And on Saturdays, it does just generally across platforms, like the weekends aren't generally as good. You would think, but people maybe are less interactive, or they have plans that they actually, now that we're all reacquainting ourselves with the world at large, it does seem like we can still hold something for people. Generally, the posts don't do quite as well, but again, don't let that stop you. Normally, like morning is best.
And I also noticed that in some cities where there are lots of train use, maybe early mornings even better, because they're always on their devices on the train.
Yeah, and people will even check their social first thing in the morning from bed. So like sometimes I will post as early as like 7 a.m. Sometimes I'll even send email campaigns like 6 or 7 a.m. for that same reason. Like before they've been saturated with the day, they can hear about that thing.
Jamie, you mentioned something, you shouldn't post every day, but
You can post every day, but you don't have to.
right. But how long, like if I post on a Tuesday, do you want to post at least every couple of days? Or if you go too long without posting, is that bad?
This is a great question. Thank you. These are all great questions. So generally, I would say every other day is like a worthy goal to shoot for, because again, the algorithms are basing a lot of their, kind of what I was alluding to earlier, they're basing a lot of their, I want to say visibility on interaction. So they can see our behaviors, what we click on, what we scroll over, what we stop on. And so you don't want to sit dormant too long. That being said, most people have this sort of treading water feeling about social. They feel like they're going to drown if they don't just keep posting. But honestly, again, once a week is still, if you do it with these things in mind, like if you take that extra time to research a couple of the relevant organizations, like if you're collaborating with someone, you're talking about them, that they're in a show with you, go ahead and put like even a 1-sentence biography of them. You know, they went to this school, they went to NYU Tisch, they, you know, have performed at this nightclub, they've da-da-da-da. Like if you tag those things, you will, not too many, you don't want to just have a list of like 50 tags, but when it's relevant and it fits like naturally in a sentence, go ahead and tag a few of them so that you can continue to be discovered with these notifications as you go. Every other day is good. I would say bare minimum once a week, you know, twice a week, I would pat yourself on the back. 3 times a week, I would say you're doing amazing.
Okay, good.
Yes. What is the best way to boost an event on Facebook?
Yes. Oh, like a Facebook event, one of those actual, okay. I'm not going to get too much on my soapbox about this, but I think, and this is just I have a person with opinions, and I don't claim to know everything. I find Facebook events don't work super well unless you want to put money on them. So you'll notice in the Facebook events an opportunity to boost the event. That can be helpful if you're being very targeted, which is kind of another conversation. But I think event pages can work if you treat them like you treat the people that have clicked going or interested, if you treat them extra special. This is true for email marketing as well. Like if someone bothers to click, we are inundated with event invites. Like, and admittedly, a lot of us are like, ugh. Even if they want to go to that event, they don't want to have to like deal with the invitation. So if they do manage to do that, if they do manage to subscribe to your email list, it's so critical to give them extra special things. Like maybe you have a discount code that you made only for people that have clicked going, you know, on your Facebook page. If you get press, you share it there. Maybe you do a special post of you backstage that you just post on the event page. Does that make sense? Like if it's like they're being brought into a more intimate setting, if they're being given more than like the average user, because why wouldn't these people just see your posts on your business page? Like, why do they need to take the extra step? And then they have to take an extra step to click on the link to buy tickets. I actually say you probably don't need event pages, again, unless you're putting a little money on it or you're taking extra special care and like making it a special thing, if that makes any sense.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anyone else? I'm looking in the chat. There's a lot of questions in here. Sorry. How do you monetize either the media you're creating or funnel it to your projects? How do you, well, most of the time when I'm dealing with monetization, it's about linking to a thing that people pay for. It's less about like, unless you're an influencer with like a ton of followers, that's not who I usually work for. I mean, I have a little bit. So sometimes you can broker actual money for the posts. So you can get some payment out of that if you have a large following or a super engaged following. Again, it's not strictly about numbers, but most of the time I'm sending people to buy a ticket, to buy a product. That's the only sort of way that, generally speaking, I'm monetizing posts that I'm creating. And there are a lot of sort of philosophical rants I could go on. I know we're well over time, but I recommend you look into, there's a book called that marketers still use to this day. It was made in the 80s. His name's Richard, oh wow, Cialdi, I forget it. But it's called The 6 Principles of Influence. I sort of live and die by this. Sometimes you have to, instead of just saying, buy my thing, go to my event, there are 6 key elements that help actually get people to a place of desire with a product or a ticket purchase. I'll try to give a really brief example. I know we don't have a lot of time. I could do a whole session just on this, and I have before. But one thing you can think about is like a dance company, or maybe a composition, right? Like say my performance is based on abuse that I like, it's inspired, and well, I'll get a little serious, pardon. There's lots, it can be funny too, but off the top of my head, say that I'm promoting a piece that explores codependent relationships or abuse, right? What is the benefit of watching a show that's inspired by abuse or codependency? It can be as theoretical as catharsis. Like sometimes what gets people over the hump is like, you know, have you been in a codependent relationship before? That's what my work's about. I'm exploring these facets of it. You could even use a clip, a demonstrative clip about some partnering that your dance does that, you know, teases this. And that can sometimes be the little human element that people need to like, you know, push them over the edge. Like sometimes our, you know, our codependent relationships are very pivotal to our personal growth. Like sometimes it takes a little, this is why I kept kind of talking about how to be a human online. Sometimes those kinds of like, one thing I think about, oh my God, I'm so sorry, we're so over time. One thing I think about is the, anytime I'm writing messaging for a client or myself, I'm thinking about what's the benefit of the benefit? Go with me. So like if I'm teaching a fitness course and I tell you the benefit is that you're gonna get beautiful arms. I'm a pro at arms. I specialize in making your arms svelte for summer, whatever. That's not enough because that doesn't touch base on a desire as much. The human element might be, what's the benefit of having really great arms? It's, you know, you're gonna have those Michelle Obama arms you always wanted. That's off the top of my head, I don't know. But like, sometimes just like taking it a step further with your messaging is just that little hint. Because like if I was at a party every week going, oh, I just want Michelle Obama's arms. And then I saw a post that was like, you'll get those Michelle Obama arms you wanted. You know, sometimes that's how it sounds philosophical, but honestly, the human and the monetization, they're not so different. And this is where you as creatives can use your inspiration and your imagination to actually get financial reward. That was a long rant. I'm sorry. If anyone wants to jump in with another question.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
I just like in your personal experience, I've tried to like post some online concerts and I've had variable success with like audience engagement and like the amount of viewers and stuff. And I was just curious, like in your experience, what's like the best platform that kind of like maximizes like the sound quality and stuff and lag, and then but then also like allows people to interact while the concert's happening, like and give comments and that kind of thing. Because I think, yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
that's
yeah.
a great question. And one of the clients that I have did present someone that did a specific, they used a specific platform. I'm going to see if I can look at it. I don't remember the name of it. But Kupferberg Center on Instagram. If you touch base with me after the fact, I will find that and send it to you because I know we're over time. Otherwise,
Okay.
Otherwise I'd stop and look it up. Anyone else? I'm looking. Sorry, there's so many chat things. I'm so sorry.
There's a lot of chatting going on. You know, Jamie, let's find a time for you to connect with the fellows.
Got it.
We'll find a time, and all the Next Fest fellows will set up another time or another way for you to connect with Jamie and pick his prolific brain, because there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it's super great to hear all these tips, and already we've gotten tons of followers and followed back, and lots of things have been happening. So thanks to everybody for being here. We have our next event with Seth Parker Woods, who's amazing, in just a little over an hour. So I hope to see you back, and hope to see you back for the next 4 weeks with the festival, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thanks, Jamie. Really, really amazing. Keep up
Thank you,
the
everybody.
great work.
Keep in touch. Good luck. I'm rooting for you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.